Old CPU, new CPU. Hello there, we're back with another video. And today we shall be performing surgery on this guy. So in the last video I showed off my ultimate Windows XP gaming PC, which is what you see right here. Now if you recall in that video, I mentioned that even though this is a fantastic Windows XP gaming PC, it's got a really bad CPU bottleneck. And I mentioned that I would be upgrading it, which is what we're doing right now. This right here, my friends, is an AMD Athlon 64X2 3800 plus dual core processor, clocked at 2 gigahertz. So hopefully with this new CPU, it should be a pretty big performance boost, especially if we want to run something like Windows 8.1, for example. Because let me tell you, with that single core AMD Athlon 64 in there right now, it struggles with anything besides Windows XP. Even doing basic tasks like web browsing, the CPU is basically pegged at 100% most of the time, and the system is very slow. It's so bad that even some of Windows' very own services basically bog down the whole system. I basically had to turn off all Windows animations, I had to disable automatic updates, and even turn off some of the services that would run in the background just to make the system usable. Now I know what you're thinking right now. Well, if Windows 8.1 struggles on this thing so bad, why don't you install a lightweight Linux distro like Lubuntu? Well, here's the thing. I do have Lubuntu on this system, but even that struggles. So it doesn't matter what operating system I'm running on this thing, well, besides Windows XP, that CPU is holding back things quite a bit. But hopefully with this guy, all of that should change. Okay, time to prep for surgery. Let's shut this thing down. Alright, now first things first, even though this CPU looks like it's already been cleaned, I'm just going to give it a second cleaning just in case. Never hurts. So I got some rubbing alcohol here, I got some cotton swabs. Let's go to work. So not a whole lot of residue came off, but it did help a little bit. Ooh, nice and shiny and clean. Hello computer, I'm Dr. Tech Boom and I'll be performing your surgery today. So it looks like we're doing a CPU transplant, huh? How exciting. So we did just put you under, so I know you can't hear me right now, but let me tell you, after this CPU upgrade, you'll feel like a whole another computer. Alright, first things first, to get off the CPU, which luckily has its own release latch. Bam. Easy as that. Looks like that heatsink really does not want to come off today, does it? Might still be attached. Ah, there we go. It was just really stuck on there. Okay. Unplug the CPU fan. Come on. Give it here. We're gonna need some pliers for that. Good thing I always come prepared. There we go. Just gotta have the right tools for the job. And then release the CPU. And there we go. Old CPU, new CPU. Now for those of you who've never done this before, on virtually any kind of motherboard, you see that little triangle right in the corner? Well, there's a gold one right on the CPU where you're supposed to line it up to that one. And all you gotta do is, drop it in, make sure that it fits. Oh, come on. Hope the pins line up. Okay. Oh, that's not lining up at all. This doesn't feel like it is. Oh yeah, that's definitely not lining up. This is a socket 939 motherboard, right? You may not be able to see it, but you can see socket 939 clearly printed there. So I'm not hallucinating or anything. I'm a professional computer surgeon, I swear. Oh boy, I don't want to do this because this feels so wrong. We're gonna have to. I had to like force it in. That you're usually not supposed to do that. Oh, that just felt so wrong to do. But it feels like it's in there right now. Let's see. Oh, yep. Now, there we go. That's what I wanted. You're supposed to feel a little bit of resistance when you pull the lever back. Because you see, normally, with most CPUs, all you gotta do is just set it in there and the pins will line up perfectly. But with this one, I'm not entirely sure why I had to use extra force to get it in the socket. My guess is some of the pins were ever so slightly bent, which was why it wasn't lining up correctly. But it feels like it's in there pretty solid, so fingers crossed. Now all I gotta do is clean up the heatsink and then apply thermal paste. So I'll be right back. Ew. I accidentally spilt the bottle a little bit and now my hands smell like rubbing alcohol. Gross. Alright, CPU cooler is now cleaned. Now all we gotta do is reapply thermal paste on the CPU. Now you'll find many answers online as to how much thermal paste you should really use. And personally, I use no more than a grain of rice. So apply it on like so. So about that much. Now the CPU heatsink goes back on the exact same way it came off. Like that. Plug in the fan, wherever it is. Oh, come on. So many cables in the way. Oh. Oops. I wish I had smaller fingers so I could actually get in here. I can't get this. I can't get the fan connector to connect. I'm gonna freehand it. There we go. There was that satisfying click. Okay, so now let's lock down the heatsink and then pull this lever down to lock down the cooler. Oh, there we go. It's quite tight. It's the only thing I don't like about it. All right, I think we're ready to power on the system and fingers crossed everything works. And hopefully I don't need a BIOS update either. All right, so we are ready to power it on. Here we go. Moment of truth, people. That's not a good sign. I was afraid of this. So it looks like we're gonna have to track down a frickin' BIOS update for this thing. Great. I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news, buddy, but this surgery hasn't really gone as smoothly as I thought. The good news is that the CPU is working because I felt it and it gets hot, like real hot, so that means it's working. So my guess is we're going to need a BIOS update, which is going to be oh so fun to track down because, you know, manufacturers are a little picky about BIOS updates sometimes. So I'm just hoping if we can find one that'll support this CPU. Otherwise this will be all for nothing. we're just going to put the old CPU in so that we can track down a BIOS update and install it. And honestly, I'm not even going to bother with reapplying thermal paste because we're just going to take the CPU right off. Not going to bother. Okay, hopefully it'll power up with the old CPU in, because otherwise we're going to be in big trouble. Okay, good. Oh, that's good. That's a good sign. Okay, we're back in Windows 8.1. Let's open up a web browser and track down ourselves a BIOS update. Oh, hopefully. Alright, this is what we need. Compaq Presario SR1750NX BIOS update. Show me what you got, Bing. Alright, let's see here. Oh my god, people are texting me. Shut up. Well, shit. I was afraid of that. HP, you have failed me. How dare you? Oh, could this be it? It says BIOS. Release date November 30th, 2007. And it's the exact same model that we're running right now. This better be it. Let's give it a try. Alright, just in case things go catastrophically wrong, let's make a restore point. Hopefully we'll be able to restore from that if anything goes wrong. I don't want to jinx anything. Let's just assume everything will go according to plan. Alright, here we go. BIOS update. Click next. I accept the license terms. Yeah, I totally read those. Please close any applications and save your files before proceeding. It's a good idea to back up your data before continuing. Well, we made a restore point, and luckily if anything goes wrong, I can just hook up the hard drive to an external docking station and back up my data that way. I think we'll be good. This utility will update your BIOS. Press yes to proceed. Warning, do not turn off your PC during this update. Okay, I won't. Click yes. Alright, update in progress. No turning back now. I'm just hoping this fixes our CPU issue. We got a problem. A rather big problem. The system is unresponsive and there is no hard drive activity whatsoever. Oh shit. Oh my god. I really don't want to power off the system because it tells me not to power it off. Oh, this is not good. Tempting fate then. Oh, just please work after this, please. Okay, so it's the next day and I may have royally screwed this thing up. Just look. And the system refuses to post no matter what I do. I pulled the graphics card, I pulled the CMOS battery, and nothing. So what ended up happening was during the BIOS update, the whole system froze and I had no other choice but to shut down the system. When I turned it back on, well, now it refuses to post. God damn it. So I may have completely fried this motherboard. And from the way it looks on the board, there's no way to actually reset the BIOS or anything. And because it won't post, I don't think I could even reflash the BIOS either. So this board is royally screwed. Also, another thing I noticed was some of the capacitors on this board are starting to bulge. And I don't know if you can see it, but that one in particular is starting to leak. So even if I didn't mess up the BIOS on this board, with those bad capacitors, something bad was going to happen to it eventually. And I really like this case. And besides the motherboard, all the rest of the components in here are completely fine. So if I decide to get a new board, it might be cheaper than actually getting a whole nother system. Could be a possibility. So I don't really know what I'm going to do with this thing yet. I don't know if I'm going to just replace the board with like a socket AM2 motherboard instead, or if I'm just going to trash this whole system and part it out and just get a whole nother computer. I don't really know. This sucks. Oh boy. Well, whatever I end up doing, I'll update you guys on the current situation of the ultimate Windows XP gaming PC. Because I don't really know yet. It's probably going to be a while until I can do something with it. So for now, I'm just going to have to set it aside until I can figure out what I'm going to do with it. So yeah, I guess this is the end of the video.